Well, good morning and welcome back. Happy New Year to everyone. And it's so good to be back with you guys after a couple weeks away. As we say, Happy New Year. There's a lot of things that are new here for us. As you can see, we have a little bit of a new background and new setting. We're working through some transitions on our set and trying to figure out what the future holds with that. So we're going to be experimenting in the weeks ahead with some different views and different looks. Another thing that's new is I'm here by myself. My trusty sidekick, my Tonto, my Matt, he fought COVID for the past I guess the past week or so. He's doing well. It made its way through his house. He had it, his wife had it, their little girl had it. So today I'm running all by myself. So all you Matt fans, I apologize in advance. You're stuck with me. And as I said, Matt's on his way to continued healing, but please keep him and your family and his family, I should say, in your prayers. And I look forward to hopefully having Matt back next week with me as we come at you live again. As we talk about the new year, I was thinking over these past few days about how much is new and how much is recycled this year. Because you remember 14 days to flatten the curve? Well, I went to a funeral yesterday where we wore masks. I think we're coming up on day 680, roughly, of 14 days to flatten the curve. We're coming into essentially our third full year of all these COVID restrictions. I know that Matt and I do a lot of speaking this time of year. We go to a lot of sales kickoffs. We go to see our clients and help them with their sales kickoffs. And we've already started to see them cancel. We had our first one canceled the other day because of the uptick in COVID and the things that they're struggling through, this client in particular, and in their region down in Texas. We see other ones that they're giving us the heads up and like, hey, you might not want to book flights yet for the one in February. And, just all this continuation, yet it's a new year. And it's a whole lot of new sameness, right? We're still dealing with a lot of the things we didn't want to deal with. And it reminds me of how we get to choose of what this new year is going to be, right? We've talked in the past about, are we going through COVID or are we growing through COVID? And so many of the people we get to work with, we see the difference. There are those organizations, those people that are going through COVID, the people that allow it to dominate every day. It dominates the thoughts, it dominates the actions. Naturally, we want to be cognizant of it. We want to be mindful of what's happening. But then we have the other client that we get to work with, the other type of individual that's truly growing through COVID. They're going through COVID with a renewal of spirit, with a renewal of business model in many cases, with a renewal of who they are and who they're striving to become. And that's what I've been reflecting on over these past couple days is when I find myself being pulled into that, oh, here we go again, right? When I get pulled back into is this going to continue on? Are we still going to be struggling to get in front of people? Are we still going to be struggling and working as more therapists and coaches of everybody of all the bad things going on in life? Or are we going to grow? What do we need to renew? Do we want to renew the negatives? Because I think as we come into this new year, in many cases, it's more about renewals than it is about just newels, right? Things are going to be new. I'm sure maybe all of you have made resolutions. There's things you want to do. And here we are on, what is it, the fourth day of the month, fourth day of the new year, and you might have missed a gym already. Or the fourth day of the year, and you might have forgotten to do that one thing, whether it's take the dog on a walk or whatever it was that you committed to. It might not be new anymore. It might already be old. So what do we need to do from a renewal perspective that helps us attack this year? How do we want to renew some of the good things we've done in the past? How do we want to renew some of the relationships that we've let slide? I was I have an individual in my life who's very dear to me, very good friend of mine. And this past year when I fought COVID, which is almost a year ago now, he was the guy that helped me transfer hospitals and essentially saved my life. So this year when we went around the Thanksgiving table and we said the things we were grateful for, he was my thing. He was my person. And I talked to him, I think it was on New Year's Day. And I realized that I had never shared that with him, right? Here was this person that on Thanksgiving Day I said was the most important thing that happened to me, or the most important person in this past year. And I still hadn't told him on New Year's Day because I didn't renew that friendship. I let time get in the way. I let his travel and his time in Florida and my busyness during December to prepare. I let that get in the way of letting him know how important he was to me. So I had to renew that commitment. I had to renew that friendship. And I think there's a lot of things we need to renew. We need to renew relationships. They might be client relationships that we need to renew. And what's that mean? That means reaching out and letting these people know just how important they are to us, letting them know how great of an impact they have, not just on our business, but on our lives. And that's one of my favorite parts of the past few weeks that we just went through. One of my favorite times, my favorite parts about Christmas is those relationships that you have where people let you know how important you are and how important that relationship is to them. So when I get to express that to people, that's what juices me up, right? That's the beauty of Christmas. That's that newness of life, which is what Christmas is. It's the newness of life. And when we get that newness in our relationships, that newness in our friendships, that's awesome. That's life giving for me. Right? I think anybody that's a people person or an extrovert, that becomes very life giving for us. Well, here we are in the new year, and it's a time for us to make a decision about how do we give then that life to our activities, because we've talked in the past about it's our habits that really create the goodness in our lives. It's our habits that create the genuineness that we live with. It's our habits that generate or create the quality of our lives. So, what are the habits that you need to renew to? I know for me, I know oftentimes what those habits are. I know what joy looks like. I know what good or great looks like in my life. For me personally, it's when I'm balanced and I have a great prayer life going and I'm focused on my faith. It's when I'm really engaged with clients and I'm doing those revenue generating activities that I know are so important on a regular basis. And it's when I'm avoiding carbs, right? It's when I'm not stuffing my face with every piece of bread I could find. But what happens? I find myself going back into ruts. I find myself going through the motions in many days, knowing I'm not doing the revenue generating activities I should be. I'm not as close to my clients as I should be because I get too busy working in the business or working in the activities versus working on the business and working on those relationships. I start to fall in my prayer life or my execution and practice of my faith. I know what that leads to. Doesn't lead to joy. And oh, by the way, I must have eaten 400 cookies between December 20th and yesterday when my mother was over the house cleaning and she finally put them in the freezer. So I'm going to let them go. But I know what that reliance on carbs does and that overabundance of carbs does. Makes my waist grow, makes my energy go down, and it makes me unhappy. But yet I do it. So now here I am renewing. I'm on January 4th. I'm renewing some of these commitments. I want to renew my commitment to my faith in my prayer life. I want to renew my commitment to my clients that I need to be connected with and need to be on the phone with, not just sending texts and emails to. And I'm going to renew my Bill Tallarico diet of just trying to avoid the bread. I'll eat all the protein and meat I could find. But that's we need to be conscientious of that because, as we've said in the past, if not, we start living accidental lives, and we know where that goes. So the opposite of accidental is intentional. Remember, when we're living intentional lives, we're looking for ways to make life better for another. When we're living accidental lives, we're looking for ways to make life easier for us. And I saw a podcast. One of my favorite authors is Jocko Willink. And Jocko's a former Navy SEAL. He was one of the leaders of SEAL Team 6. He's incredible. He's written, I think, 3 books. The first one was Extreme Ownership. And it was one of those books I just love listening to because when you listen to it in Audible, Jocko's one of those guys whose voice makes you want to just go out and fight. I love it. Like I'm sitting at red lights getting fired up. I love Jocko. But I saw him do a little snippet of about 5 minutes the other day. And he talked about how the hard road at every aspect of his life, whether it was at SEAL training, whether it was in combat, whether it was in fatherhood, whether it was in marriage, whatever it's been in his life, when he chose the easy road, bad things happen. Bad things happen. When he chose the hard road, it was difficult, but he became greater. And other people's lives became greater. In some cases, other people's lives were saved. But that hard road is what leads to greatness. And as we sit here on January 4th, you may have made some commitments to yourself and to others about newness, right? The newness of the year that you may have already fallen back on. Why? Because they're hard. And if you renew that commitment to that hard thing and do the hard thing, because you know it's the right thing, what greatness can we do? That might be recommitting the sales process, right? That might be just recommitting to, in every account you have right now, in every sales cycle you find yourself, you're going to do the right thing. You're going to do the hard thing. What's the hard thing inside of some of our sales cycles? If Matt were here, he'd probably tell us it was asking that next difficult question. It was setting the clear next step. It was making sure inside of every account, we knew what was going on and our prospect or client knew what was going on because it appeared on two people's calendars. Because we sent them an email to clarify, we sent them a calendar invite after the meeting, at the end of the meeting, and we knew when we were going to get together again. Asking that question can sometimes be hard, but we know it leads to great outcomes. The easy road is saying, hey, thanks so much for your time today, and bolting out, leaving on a high note. But then when we're 15 days down the road and we can't get in touch with somebody, or we're 30 days down the road and we're starting to think, is that still alive? Right? That's not a fun place to be. So we're not too far in. We're sitting here 4 days into our new year. And I think for some of us, it might be a great time to take a few moments today and think about those commitments that we need to renew, even though we're only 4 days in. And then hold yourselves accountable to those, because we know it takes 21 days to form a new habit. So if we can renew our commitments today to the right things that might be the hard things and hold ourselves accountable for the next 21 days, I think at the end of January, we're going to find we're living more intentional lives than we might have been on December 28th. So thank you all for being with us, or me, this week. Apologize, it's just me. But really appreciate your patience over the past few weeks. Look forward to being with you again on a regular basis moving forward in the weeks ahead, and hope you have a great day, great week. God bless.